The galactic diplomacy station Unity Verge floated quietly in the vast darkness of space, a shining hub where many alien races came to meet, talk, and learn from each other. Its walls hummed softly with the energy of hundreds of different languages and strange new ideas. Scifi, a young alien from the Zalari species, stood at a wide window looking out into the stars. Her skin shimmered faintly with soft colors that changed as she thought. Zalari were known for their calm minds and strong logic, and Scifi was proud to be one of the best cultural researchers of her people. Today was an important day, for the first time her species was assigned to observe and learn about a new race, humans. Her holopad beeped softly. She looked at the screen and saw a short file on the human species, Homo sapiens. The notes were confusing. Humans were described as emotional, unpredictable, curious and brave, but also dangerous and reckless. Scifi found these ideas puzzling. How could a race be so many things at once? Her mission was clear: learn everything about humans and decide if they could be trusted as allies in the galactic community. Your first human meeting is in 10 minutes. Her supervisor's voice echoed gently in her mind. Remember, observe carefully and keep an open mind. Scifi took a deep breath. She had trained for this moment, but still, a small feeling of nervousness flickered inside her. The door slid open quietly, and a tall human man stepped in. He had short brown hair, bright eyes, and a smile that looked both friendly and a little playful. "Hi, I'm Jason Carter," he said with a warm voice. "I'm the human cultural liaison here." Scifi nodded and tried to hide her surprise. Humans smiled much more openly than most species she had met. It was strange and yet strangely comforting. "I'm Scifi, from Zalari," she replied carefully, her voice soft but clear. Jason laughed softly. "Well, Scifi, welcome to Unity Verge. I hope you're ready for some fun. Humans are different." Scifi was curious. "Different? In what way?" Jason shrugged. "You'll see." They sat down at a small table in the common area of the station. Around them, aliens of many kinds spoke quietly or moved between rooms. Jason reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. "I want to show you something." He tapped on it and a hologram appeared between them. It was a cartoon image of a duck wearing a funny hat. Scifi blinked. "Is this a human custom?" Jason grinned. "Not really, it's a joke. Humans love jokes. They are a way to connect, to laugh together." Scifi's antennae twitched. Humor was rare among Zalari. They found jokes often confusing or meaningless. Jason began to explain. "Okay, here's one. Why did the duck wear a hat? Because it wanted to quack up." Scifi stared blankly. "Quack up?" she repeated. Jason chuckled. "It means to laugh. It's silly, I know, but that's kind of the point." Scifi carefully wrote notes on her holopad. Humans use humor to build bonds. The joke is often nonsense but creates shared feelings. Jason leaned back. Humans are emotional and sometimes weird. But that's what makes us interesting. Scifi was still puzzled. "You bond by confusing each other?" Jason smiled again. "Something like that." Just then an announcement came over the station's intercom. "All visitors are invited to attend a cultural exchange dinner in the main hall." Jason stood up. "Come on, you're coming with me. You need to see more human things." Scifi hesitated but nodded. She was here to learn after all. The main hall was large and full of color. Tables were set with many different foods. Humans, aliens, and others gathered together, laughing and talking. Jason guided Scifi to a table where several humans were sitting. "This is my team," he said. "We work with many species to help them understand each other." The humans welcomed Scifi warmly. She noticed how they used many hand gestures, smiles, and even occasional loud laughter. It was very different from the quiet, calm meetings she was used to. One human woman named Maya offered Scifi a strange-looking dish. "Try this. It's called spicy noodles." Scifi looked at the food carefully. It smelled strong, and a little hot. She took a small bite. Suddenly her mouth felt on fire. Her eyes widened and she gasped for water. The humans around her laughed kindly. Jason handed her a glass of water and said, "Don't worry. Spicy food is a human way of testing courage." Scifi frowned, trying to hide her discomfort. "Test courage? By eating fire?" Jason nodded. "Yeah, it's weird, but it's a fun way to show strength and bravery." Throughout the dinner, Scifi watched humans carefully. She saw how they told stories, teased each other, and shared both food and feelings. After the meal, Jason took her to a quieter corner. "So what do you think?" Scifi thought for a moment. "Humans are strange. They choose to share experiences that confuse and challenge them. They laugh at pain and at jokes that do not make sense." Jason smiled proudly. "Yep, that's us." Scifi wrote her final note for the day. Humans are complex. They seek connection through unpredictable and sometimes uncomfortable rituals. This may seem illogical, but it creates strong bonds. She looked at Jason and asked quietly, "Are you really doing this? Choosing to live in such chaos?" Jason laughed softly. "Every day. And honestly, I wouldn't want it any other way." Scifi smiled faintly. Maybe there was something remarkable in this chaos after all. The next day, Scifi woke up feeling curious and a little nervous. Today, she would see one of the most important parts of human life: dating. She had heard this was a complicated, sometimes confusing, and very important way humans tried to find partners. Jason arrived to pick her up, smiling as always. "Ready to see how humans try to connect?" Scifi nodded. "Yes, please explain what I'm about to observe." Jason chuckled. "I'll do my best." They traveled to a bright, busy city on Earth. Tall buildings stretched to the sky, and people moved quickly on the streets. Jason led Scifi to a small, colorful building with a sign that read, "Speed Dating Event Tonight." Inside, the room buzzed with excitement. There were many small tables arranged in a circle. At each table, 2 people sat facing each other. A timer was set for 3 minutes. Jason explained. In speed dating, people meet many others in a short time. They talk for a few minutes, then move on. It helps them see who they might like. Scifi watched carefully as a young man and woman laughed and talked. Their words were fast and their expressions changed quickly. Sometimes they smiled shyly, sometimes they laughed loudly. After several rounds, Scifi took notes. Humans rapidly judge each other by words, expressions, and energy. They seek signs of kindness, humor, and interest in a very short time. Jason turned to her. "See? It's like trying to find the best fruit in a big basket." Scifi tried to understand this idea. Finding a partner like picking fruit? Strange, but maybe it made sense. Later that evening, Jason invited Scifi to a double date. She had never heard of such a thing before. 4 humans would eat dinner and spend time together. At the restaurant, the group sat around a large table. The atmosphere was lively. People talked about movies, music, and funny stories from work. Scifi observed closely. She noticed how the humans made small jokes, teased each other gently, and even shared secrets. Jason leaned over and whispered, "See that? They build trust by sharing personal stories and being a little vulnerable." Scifi found this interesting. Sharing. Private thought seemed risky. Wouldn't that cause pain if trust was broken? Before she could ask, a human woman named Emily suddenly dared everyone to try the spiciest chili wings on the menu. Everyone accepted the challenge, and soon their faces turned red, eyes watered, and laughter filled the air. Scifi's antennae twitched. "Why do you put yourself in pain willingly?" Jason smiled. "It's a kind of fun. Shared experiences, even difficult ones, create bonds." Scifi wrote, "Humans often use shared challenges to connect emotionally. This is very different from my people's calm and logical approach." As the evening went on, the group stood and moved to a nearby karaoke bar. Scifi watched humans sing with joy, even when their voices were not perfect. They encouraged each other, clapped, and laughed. One man sang an old Earth song called "Dancing in the Moonlight." Jason turned to Scifi. You don't have to sing well to connect. It's the courage to try that matters. Scifi felt a small smile grow on her lips. The strange rituals were beginning to make a little more sense. Back at the station, Scifi began her report. She wrote, "The human mating ritual known as dating involves rapid evaluation, emotional risk-taking, shared challenges, and public displays of courage. Although illogical by Zalari standards, these customs serve to create emotional connection and trust." Jason read over her shoulder. "You're sounding like you're starting to understand us." Scifi replied, "I remain puzzled but intrigued. Humans seek connection through unpredictability and play." Jason nodded. "That's the key. Humans find meaning in the messiness." Later, Scifi sat quietly in her room. She thought about what she had seen. The laughter, the daring, the awkward moments, all seemed to create a powerful feeling. Was this madness? Or was it something deeper? Suddenly, her communicator beeped. A message from her supervisor flashed on the screen. "Report progress. Any new insights?" Scifi typed carefully. "Humans bond through challenge and shared experience. They risk pain to find joy. This may be a strength, not a weakness." She paused and added one more line. "Are humans truly as chaotic as they appear, or is their chaos a form of order?" Scifi smiled softly. Tomorrow would bring more questions, and perhaps more answers. Scifi's mind was full of new and strange ideas about humans. Their way of building connections was unlike anything she had seen before, but she still had many questions. Jason arrived at her room with a wide smile. "Tonight, we're going to watch a human ritual called a romantic movie. It's important for understanding how humans feel and connect." Scifi tilted her head, curious. "A movie? Is this a form of education?" Jason laughed softly. "Not exactly. It's more like a game. A way humans enjoy strong feelings without real danger." They moved to a small room filled with comfortable seats and a large screen. Jason pressed some buttons and the room filled with soft light. The movie began. Two people, a man and a woman, met by accident in a city. They had many moments of confusion, anger, and laughter. The music changed with their feelings, soft when they were happy, loud when they were scared or upset. Scifi watched closely, trying to understand. After a scene where the woman spilled coffee on the man's shirt, Jason whispered, "See? Something small can create a big moment between humans." Scifi nodded slowly. "But why is the music so loud when they almost touch?" Jason smiled. "That's to make the moment feel more important. It's called building tension. Humans like to feel strong emotions. It makes the reward, like a kiss, feel special." Scifi made a note. Humans create imaginary dangers to test emotions and build bonds. The story continued. The two characters faced many challenges, misunderstandings, jealous friends, and moments of fear. Scifi's antennae twitched as she saw how humans cried during sad parts and laughed loudly at funny parts. Jason explained, "Romantic movies help humans practice feeling safely. They prepare us for real life." Scifi was surprised. "You say it is practice, yet it causes real feelings?" Jason nodded. "Exactly. Humans learn by feeling, even if the story is not real." At one point, the man almost left the woman, but then he returned just before the door closed. The music soared as they finally kissed. Scifi found herself holding her breath. The moment was powerful. She felt something warm inside, though. She was not sure what it was. Jason saw her expression. "Don't worry, it's normal. Humans can feel very strong emotions from stories." She smiled faintly. "This emotional simulation is strange, but I begin to see its value." After the movie, Jason asked, "So what do you think about human mating rituals now?" Scifi looked thoughtful. "They use stories and shared experiences, even imaginary ones, to create trust and connection. This is very different from the straightforward logic of my people." Jason grinned. "Yep. Humans often choose to feel confusion and pain just to feel joy more deeply. Scifi wrote in her report, humans engage in emotional games to build bonds. These rituals involve stress, uncertainty, and release. They are a form of social training and emotional connection. That night, Scifi lay on her bed, thinking. Humans created whole stories of risk and love, and by sharing these stories they grew closer. Was this madness? Or genius? She smiled to herself. She was beginning to understand why humans were considered unpredictable, but also why they could be so strong. Scifi's days on Unity Verge were filled with new experiences, but not all were easy. Her work studying humans had caught attention, both good and bad. One morning, as she prepared her latest report on human mating customs, an unfamiliar presence appeared. A tall, muscular alien with deep green skin and sharp eyes entered the room. His name was Gralek, and he came from the Varnak species, known for their strict order and logic. Gralek's voice was low and firm. I have heard of your interest in humans, Zalari. But I must warn you, humans are chaotic and dangerous. They are not worthy of trust. Scifi looked at him calmly. I do not judge lightly. My research is based on observation, not fear. Gralek sneered. Observation? Your fascination blinds you. Humans are unpredictable. They make decisions based on emotion, not reason. They could bring ruin to any alliance. Scifi felt a spark of challenge. Emotion is part of all life. Even your species has feelings. Gralek's eyes narrowed. Our feelings do not interfere with duty. We Varnak value control and order. Scifi smiled politely. Perhaps, but order without understanding can be cold. Their disagreement soon became known throughout the station. The Galactic Council decided that a formal test of cultural understanding would take place. Both Scifi and Gralek would present their findings and opinions about humans. But the test had a special rule. Humans would choose which alien observer best understood them. This was no simple vote. It was a cultural understanding duel. Jason was shocked when he heard this. Wait, I have to choose between you two? This is about mating customs, right? Scifi nodded. Yes. The choice is based on who best represents the human way of connection and trust. Jason laughed nervously. I don't know if I'm ready for that kind of test. Gralek looked at Jason with a cold smile. You will choose logic and safety, human, or chaos and danger. Jason shook his head. It's not that simple. As the day of the duel approached, Scifi worked hard to prepare. She wanted to show that humans were not chaotic monsters, but creatures of deep emotion and strength. On the day of the duel, the council hall was full. Representatives from many species sat in silence, waiting for the presentations. Gralek went first. His speech was clear, direct, and filled with numbers and facts. He painted humans as wild and risky, prone to mistakes and dangers. Scifi went next. She spoke of stories, laughter, challenges, and love. She explained that humans choose to feel deeply and to take emotional risks because it creates true bonds. After the presentations, the council asked Jason to speak. He cleared his throat. I've lived with humans all my life. Yes, sometimes we're messy and confusing, but that messiness is what makes us real. We don't just follow rules. We create meaning through our connections. He looked at Scifi and Gralek. Between the two of you, I feel that Scifi understands us better. She sees our heart, not just our chaos. Gralek's face darkened. This is a mistake. Scifi felt relief, but also knew this was only the beginning. Thank you, Jason. I believe humans have a strength that goes beyond logic. The council announced that Scifi's report would be accepted as a foundation for future relations with humans. After the event, Jason approached Scifi. You did great. I'm glad you see us as more than just chaos. Scifi smiled warmly. I see something remarkable. Humans risk pain for connection. That takes courage. Jason laughed. Yeah, it's a wild ride. But it's worth it. As Zaviri returned to her quarters that night, she felt more determined than ever. Humans were strange, unpredictable, and sometimes confusing, but they were also brave and full of heart. And maybe, just maybe, the galaxy could learn something from that. After the intense cultural understanding duel, Zaviri felt a new sense of respect for humans. But she wanted to understand even deeper, beyond the words and rituals, into what truly made humans connect. Jason invited her for a walk outside the station on a quiet earth forest preserve nearby. The sun was setting, painting the sky with soft orange and pink colors. Birds sang gently and the air was cool and fresh. Here, Jason said, is a place where humans come to think, relax, and sometimes find answers. Zaviri looked around. The forest felt alive in a way different from her homeworld's carefully controlled gardens. Here, nature was wild and free, yet still balanced. Jason smiled. Humans are messy. Our emotions, our thoughts, our stories, they don't always follow rules or logic. Zaviri nodded. I have seen that. But what drives this messiness? Jason paused, then said quietly, we want to be understood. We want to be loved, to belong, and sometimes that means risking pain. Zaviri's eyes softened. To risk pain for connection, that is reckless. Jason laughed softly. Maybe, but it's also brave. They walked slowly among the trees. Jason pointed to a small stream. This stream is like human emotions, it flows and changes. Sometimes calm, sometimes wild, but always moving forward. Zaviri considered this. In my culture, we value logic and order, but your emotions, they have their own kind of order. Jason nodded. Exactly. It's a different kind of logic, one based on stories, feelings, and trust. Zaviri thought of the dating rituals, the spicy food, the karaoke, the movies. All seemed strange, but now she saw a pattern. Humans created shared experiences to build bonds, even if those experiences were uncomfortable. Jason looked at her. You know, Zaviri, I think humans are the galaxy's greatest risk-takers. Not in war or battle, but in our hearts. Zaviri smiled faintly. You risk your hearts more for love. Jason nodded. Yeah, it's messy, confusing, and sometimes painful, but it's what makes us strong. They stopped at a small hill and watched the sun sink below the horizon. The stars began to appear, shining softly. Zaviri spoke quietly. I came here to study humans, but I find I am learning from them. Jason smiled warmly. That's what makes this whole experience worth it. For a long moment, they sat side by side in silence, sharing a peaceful connection without words. Zaviri's final thought that day was simple but true. Humans may not follow the rules of logic, but their hearts beat with a force that can change the galaxy. The day of the big cultural contest had finally arrived. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with excitement. Representatives from many species gathered to see which alien observer truly understood the humans best. Zaviri stood calmly, ready to present her final case. She knew this moment could shape the future of human relations in the galaxy. The other side, Grallic of the Varnic stood stiff and proud. His face showed no hint of emotion, only cold determination. The contest began. Grallic went first. He showed detailed charts, statistics, and rules. His words were sharp and logical, designed to prove that humans were too risky and unpredictable to trust fully. He spoke of control, order, and the dangers of emotion. The audience listened politely, but many seemed to find his presentation cold and distant. When Zaviri's turn came, she smiled gently and began to speak. Humans are not perfect, she said. They make mistakes. They laugh, cry, and sometimes hurt. But they choose to live with passion and connection. Their bonds are built through shared stories, trust, and even imperfection. She told stories from her time with Jason, the spicy food challenge, the awkward karaoke, the emotional movies. She explained how these moments were not chaos, but ways humans created deep and lasting bonds. Zaviri's words touched many. hearts in the chamber. She finished softly. Humans' greatest strength is their willingness to risk pain for love. Then, the council turned to Jason. He was nervous, but spoke honestly. "I've lived as a human my whole life," he said. "We're messy and confusing, but our imperfections are what make us real. We don't just follow rules, we create meaning through connection." He looked at Scifi and said, "Between the two alien observers, Scifi understands us best. She sees the heart behind the chaos." The room was silent for a moment. Then the council leader spoke. "The verdict is clear. Scifi's understanding will guide our future with humans." Gralek's face darkened, but he said nothing more. Later, Jason smiled at Scifi. "You did it. You showed them what humans really are." Scifi smiled back. "Thank you, Jason. I believe this is only the beginning." As the crowd dispersed, Scifi felt a new hope. Humans were strange and unpredictable, yes, but their courage and heart could change the galaxy for the better. She looked up at the stars and thought, the galaxy may need a little chaos, if it means love and connection. The shuttle bay at Unity Verge was quiet and filled with soft lights as Scifi prepared to leave. Her mission was coming to an end. She had learned so much about humans, about their strange rituals, their laughter, their risks, and their courage. But most of all, she had learned about their hearts. Jason walked beside her, carrying a small, colorful package. "Before you go," he said with a grin, "there's something I want to give you." Scifi looked at him curiously. "What is it?" Jason smiled and opened the package. Inside was a small, silly hat shaped like a duck, with a bright orange beak and big eyes. "The duck hat," Jason said. "From the very first joke I told you. I thought you might like to have it as a reminder." Scifi took the hat carefully. It felt light and funny in her hands. For the first time, she laughed, a soft, genuine sound that surprised her. "This hat," she said, "will remind me of the mystery and joy of humans, of how you find meaning in laughter even in confusion." Jason nodded. "Exactly. It's not just a joke. It's a symbol of how humans connect, through shared stories and silly moments." They reached the shuttle. Scifi looked back at the station where she had spent so many days learning and growing. Her communicator beeped. It was time to send her final report. She sat down and spoke clearly. Humans confuse and frustrate. They leap into the unknown and risk pain. Yet their capacity for joy, loyalty, and love is a force the galaxy cannot ignore. They teach that connection is worth the struggle. I believe I will miss them deeply. Jason stood quietly beside her. "You'll always be welcome here." The shuttle doors closed, and as it lifted off, Scifi looked out at the stars one last time. The galaxy was full of wonders, but none quite like the strange, beautiful humans. Her journey had ended, but her story with humanity was only beginning.